Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean and Lily. So, we've had some good videos the last few days. If you haven't seen, go check it out. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Today, we're talking about the new Triple G, the most ducked man in boxing today. And the irony is that nobody is really talking about it, nobody's really highlighting it. People talk about Shakur Stevenson getting ducked and how Shakur Stevenson is obviously a pound for pound top fighter, but unfortunately, none of the guys in and around his weight division that would really prove it want to step up and fight him. This is being talked about on the regular. But this man is getting the cold shoulder from boxing pundits, boxing channels, and everybody in and around the sport. Today, we're going to talk about him after this short message. Welcome back, boxing fans. So, as I said, today we're going to be talking about the most ducked fighter in boxing today. And it's ridiculous that a guy who's put himself in a position that he's put himself in still gets no love, can't get a fucking fight. No, the big name guys want him. And even dudes that potentially could actually earn something that they've never earned in their fucking careers, they also don't want anything to do with him. I mean, you literally can't make this shit up. It just is what it is. These guys are just scared. Scared. And I know Halloween is coming, so it's justifiably so that maybe some of these fuckers are just scared at this time of the season. What happened? Why did that jump up? Sorry for that thing. Some window just popped up in front of everything. I'm like, what's going on? But let's get to it. Obviously, I look forward to seeing what everybody has to say. See if you can guess who I'm talking about. But let's get to it right now. So here we go. The man, the myth, the legend. This is the new Gennady Golovkin. This guy is now an IBF world champion in what is considered probably the deepest and most competitive division in boxing today. But like Golovkin, when he was a champion back in the middleweight division, none of the champions and none of the top contenders want anything to do with this man. Nothing to do with him, right? Of course, back in the day with Golovkin, people were justifying him being ducked, talking about how he doesn't bring money to the table. He's not a big name. Who wants to fight him? High risk, low reward. Well, that's the same thing you could say about Murtazaliev right now. The irony is, though, we hear the same people that push this narrative moan and fucking groan when it's a fighter they like being done dirty like this. Example, David Benavidez, right? When David Benavidez couldn't get a fight with Canelo Alvarez, all you heard about is how unfair it is and how he's being fucking ducked and robbed, and Canelo's scared of him. Canelo literally fought everybody else in the division. The only question people had about David Benavidez is, why didn't he do anything before Canelo actually came to the division? Maybe you could say the same thing about Murtazaliev, right? This is a guy who's been around the 154-pound division for a long time. So it begs the question, why is it only now? What happened previously that sort of kept him out of the public view? And we can get to that in a minute. So first, let's compare him to one of the most ducked fighters in modern boxing, Gennady Golovkin. Golovkin was literally ducked by every single middleweight world champion in boxing. So much so that haters talked about him fighting guys at 175, guys at 154, and literally told the champions at 160 not to fight him. Imagine that. So the fights that could have built his resume, could have added to his legacy, you didn't want him to fight those guys. But you wanted him to fight guys that were at 175 like Andre Ward, and you wanted to fight guys at 154 who actually weren't fighting each other. Charlo, Andrade, and fucking Laura were all world champions at the same time Golovkin was a champion in middleweight. Not one of those fucking dudes made a unification fight. Not one of them. Right? And a few of them, as I talked about in my past video, PBC hype jobs, didn't even do anything. Their resumes are piss poor, right? The lack of fucking effort they put into their careers is fucking astounding. And the fact that people ignore it, but literally consistently bring Golovkin up when they want to hate on non-black fighters. Bring up Floyd when we want to fucking blow black fighters and how dominant they are. Bring up Golovkin to talk about how overrated every non-black fighter is, right? These are the two comparisons right there. Ironically enough, Floyd Mayweather literally clout chased Golovkin like crazy and literally ducked him, right? This is a guy that consistently was fucking mentioning Golovkin, talking about how he had no special effects. Yet when he was talked about actually stepping up and taking on Golovkin for the middleweight title, he had no balls to fucking take on that challenge. None whatsoever. So you got to ask yourself, why are you fucking even talking about the dude? Why are you consistently putting Golovkin's name in your mouth if you fucking are too chicken shit to actually step in the ring and fight the fucking guy? If you don't want to fight him, shut the fuck up. Nobody wants to hear you clout chasing after somebody we know you have no desire to actually face, right? Not that Mayweather had to fight Golovkin, but why are you consistently fucking talking about the guy and then trying to demean and downplay him, acting as if, you know, he would be easy work for you? Well, if it'd be easy work for you, go fucking get some. That's what Bud Crawford just did with Canelo Alvarez. He didn't fucking clout chase and then not make the fight. He talked about Canelo, how he thought he'd beat Canelo, and then he did the fucking unbelievable. Went up and actually beat Canelo Alvarez. There's nothing else you can say but this when it's talking about Bud Crawford and him actually living up to the things he said. And ironically enough, you think about how this guy, Golovkin, consistently got so much hate. Did he like badmouth people? No. Did he beat his wife here in the picture? No. Was he a fucking douchebag in interviews and consistently bad-mouthing his opponents? No. Right? The guy fucking is here seeing with his kid at a Rangers game with his wife, right? You know, and he sort of kept them out of the limelight, right? Kept them separated from, you know, the media hostility that obviously families could potentially come under because of the hype their father got and the attention, negative and positive. This guy then went on, and now all he's doing is trying to benefit boxing in the amateurs and Kazakhstan's, not just boxing, but Olympic program overall. He's a fucking good guy, down to earth, a hard worker, right? Who got into boxing because his brother died and he wanted to do something to memorialize him, right? Yet this guy was treated like somehow he was the fucking dirtiest son of a bitch in the sport of fucking boxing. Yet I've never heard one person say a bad fucking word about him. Never. Right? It's ironic because this is the kind of shit you hear all the time, right? When we talk about Golovkin. If you really thought he was such a scumbag, people could actually give examples of what he did, but they can't. So they just tried to demean him and badmouth him. Speaking of one of those, it's Bobby777, the new Golovkin. Ha ha ha. Who is that? Madrimov? Backroom who? See, you just proved my point. The fact that guys like you aren't holding fucking the other fighters at 154 pounds accountable for blatantly ducking this guy is part of the fucking problem. Right? If this was a black fucking American dude, you'd be calling everyone a duck. You'd be all over it. But because it's this dude, you'd rather fucking downplay it and ignore it. The same way you guys did with Golovkin. Sean, did you think Bakram was the real monster before fighting an already compromised Tim Tszyu, who wasn't that good to begin with? How is Tim Tszyu compromised? He didn't get beat up in the Funduro fight. He had an elbow that created a big cut, which led to him losing a fight that went the distance. He was compromised when he rematched Funduro after fucking being battered to death by fucking Murtazaliev. You can try to downplay Murtazaliev, but ask yourself, why aren't you and other people pushing for fucking this dude to fight someone? I'm sure Brandon Adams will fight Backram. Who the fuck is Brandon Adams? So you'd rather find a black American dude who's not even a top 10 fighter and jam him into the position, hoping that he could be the guy that exposes Backram Murtazaliev. This is the same thing you guys did to Golovkin. You didn't want Golovkin get the fights that actually could prove his greatness. You wanted some mediocre fucking fighter to beat him that looked like you. And that's what you're doing for Murtazaliev. But let's move forward. Danny Garcia has a way better list of names on his resume than GGG. You tell me Danny Garcia's best win. Go. And the fact you're bringing Danny Garcia into this conversation, a guy that literally did fucking zero in the welterweight division, ducked Postol and Bud Crawford at 140 pounds. And his best win was against a guy who never became a world champion. It kind of fucking sounds like Tank Davis. But okay, that's no surprise that you would hype up that guy. And it's not like you like fucking Danny Garcia, but he's part of the PBC, so you got to blow him. The truth is, if he wasn't fucking part of the PBC, you'd be shitting all over him because he don't look like you. You know it. I know it. Everybody watching knows it. Al Heyman got into boxing because his brother was a boxer and got taken advantage of by promoters. You don't consider that, Sean. Oh, my God. He got into boxing because, like everyone else, he realizes it was an easy way to make a lot of money and take advantage, just like he was doing as a promoter in music, taking advantage of the artists. That's why he got sued by fucking Rihanna. But I guess you don't consider that because he's black like you. So you got to support him, even though you've never heard him fucking speak. Imagine that. Crazy. Amir Khan had previously been knocked out by Breedis Prescott. Who the fuck is Breedis Prescott? A nobody. But somehow you are hyping him up as if he's a fucking killer. Okay. Just beat on Bohocuk, who was robbed versus Virgil. Hey, if Bohocuk jumps at the opportunity to fight Murtazaliev, that would be a great fight. Nobody would hate on it. Because we just want this guy to get fucking opponents that can prove and test him. That's all. The irony is you're pushing Bohocuk, not the champions. Ask yourself why. Why don't you want the champions to challenge him in a unification fight, which is literally what people ask fucking every fucking champion in the world to do. But in this case, you're doing the same thing that everyone did for Golovkin. You're pushing fucking other opponents, not champions. Why? Because it's the same situation as fucking Golovkin. You don't want him to prove that he's great. You don't want him to have opportunities to fucking prove himself. You'd rather put him in with lower level opponents that no one gives a shit about, hope that fucking one of those guys beats him, and then you can talk about how he was exposed. Didn't Danny Garcia avoid Crawford multiple times? Multiple times. Multiple times. At 140 and 147. All the PBC ducked fucking Bud Crawford, right? So that's why most of these PBC guys are on my list as fucking hype jobs. And that video's coming right now. And I know Bobby's going to love that video. Going to love it. But let's keep going. So here's a list of the top fighters at this division. Obviously, Jaron Ennis just moved to the division. You got champions Andres Zayas, obviously Virgil Ortiz Jr., who is currently not a champion, but he's a interim champion. He's a highly rated fighter, blah, blah, blah. Sebastian Funduro was a unified champion, but literally ducked defending his unified titles, was stripped, and now is a one-weight champion fighting Keith fucking Thurman. Ask yourself how Keith Thurman is number 5 on this list when he's never beaten fucking anybody in the top 25 at 154 pounds. Then you got Madrimov, a solid fighter, Lubin, Ramos, who currently now is moving to 160, so he's not even on this list. Abbas, who just became the WBA champion. Brandon Adams slipping in 10. Tim Tszyu, Bohocuk, Callum Walsh, a good French fighter, Bakary Samake, just had a big win the other day. Connor Ben, Conor Benn's a 154 fighter. Lima, Perez obviously had a good win versus Conwell, got beat by Xander Zayas, Conwell, and Josh Kelly. And currently, the fight that's being talked about is a Josh Kelly fight with Murtazaliev. And look at BoxRec. They don't even have Murtazaliev listed in their fucking top 20 because he hasn't fought since he destroyed Tim Tszyu. But Tim Tszyu is ranked number 11 because he's fought, even though he's literally been knocked out 2 fucking times. So he gets ranked number 11 after getting knocked out by Murtazaliev and knocked out by Funduro. But the man that knocked out Tim Tszyu doesn't even get ranked on fucking BoxRec. This is the crazy shit that you get from fucking BoxRec. That's why nobody fucking really takes anything they say serious. They use them strictly for fucking information. But as far as legitimacy, none. Sean, I'm pushing Brad Adams to fight Backram. Of course you are. Didn't Brandon Adams just fucking lose? Yes. I mean, he just had a win too versus who? Who did he just beat? The guy that he beat fucking before. Oh, Bahalchuk. Yeah. Conor Benn should be coming to 154 also. Should be coming. Well, should be coming. Isn't he going to fight at 160 in his next fight? And then potentially he's going to go down to 147 because there's money at that division. And obviously he's not going to be giving up huge height and size advantages to those fighters. He might come to 154, but I doubt it. But the truth is, it probably would be a better transition for him. If he tries to go all the way back down to 147, that could potentially fucking ruin him. Brandon Adams would be a great opponent. The problem is, once again, you're pushing a fucking guy that's not a world champion. Why aren't you pushing Abbas, Xander Zayas, Ortiz, or Funduro for big fights, unification fights? This is the same scenario we saw with Golovkin. He was a world champion, yet people justified Sergio Martinez ducking him. Then they justified Miguel Cotto ducking him. Then they justified fucking Canelo Alvarez ducking him, who then got stripped by the WBC because he ducked him. Then they justified fucking, what's-his-face, the Cuban kid who got knocked out by Danny Jacobs, who asked for $10 million to duck him. They fucking, of course, ignore that Felix Sturm ducked him. They ignore that Daniel Giel ducked him. They ignore that Billy Joe Saunders fucking was all over social media fucking crying about how he would never fight him, right? But yet, people are critical of Golovkin's resume, even though you can list 10 world champions, 10 that blatantly fucking ducked him. And the irony is boxing fans, American boxing fans, because this doesn't come from non-Americans. This is strictly Americans. American boxing fans who literally fucking justified other world champions to duck him because he didn't deserve a world title fight. And now these same fucking whingy fucking cunts, like you, Bobby, are fucking moaning and groaning how Canelo Alvarez ducked fucking David Benavidez. Ironic, isn't it? Ironic that David Benavidez is getting ducked, but Golovkin, they shouldn't fight him. It's crazy. But this is what you get from American boxing fans. A real fucking jaded, racially fucking based, hateful narrative towards the sport of boxing. I was just listening to Ade Aladipo and the Irish guy that he does videos with. Ade, obviously blowing up. Ade was questioning, why are Americans so anti-Golovkin? Well, because he ain't black. That's why. Funduro has an injury. Virgil's fighting Lubin. We'll get into Virgil fighting Lubin. The fact that you even list that kind of exposes you as fucking either ignorant, stupid, or a fucking hater. But we'll wait for that. Xander is young. I don't think Backram is a smart fight. Oh, so because he's young, he could duck. Kind of like how Tank Davis blatantly fucking ducked Lomachenko. Okay. Abbas, I still think, is going to fight Boots because I'd be surprised if Virgil Boots happens early 2026. Backram versus Boots today. Who are you taking? Well, let's wait. I know you're just trying to push some racial narrative. At this point, Boots hasn't beaten anybody at 154. Nobody. Zilch. Nada. So he's still untested at 154 pounds. And when you look at his 147-pound resume, it's pretty lean. Pretty lean. That shit has less than fucking 5% body fat on it. But let's scroll through and see what else is going on as far as my man Backram. So 23-0, 17 KOs. A resume that doesn't inspire anybody. But this was often the criticism with Golovkin as well. The first legitimate fighters he fought, Jack Calquet and Tim Tszyu, he beat, stopping both of them. And to be fair, Jack Calquet is a very underappreciated fighter, a fighter who beat Abbas for the WBA title. So let's not forget that. After beating Calquet, he then came back and fucking destroyed Tim Tszyu. And we know when this fight was scheduled what this was supposed to be. It was supposed to be Tim Tszyu collecting a fucking title versus a mediocre fighter, somebody not that good, so that he could then do a unification fight with Funduro. The PBC trying to fucking keep all those belts in-house. Of course, they lost the WBO title because the WBO don't play that shit. Now it's been a fucking year since he destroyed Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu's already bounced back, got destroyed by Funduro. You ask yourself, how the fuck did Tim Tszyu earn a world title fight after getting fucking knocked out by Murtazaliev, yet Murtazaliev didn't get a fight? Right? This is really what boxing fans should be angry about. If you call yourself a boxing fan, you got to ask yourself, what the fuck is Funduro doing? Well, why is he fighting Tim Tszyu, who just got knocked out by fucking Murtazaliev, and not fighting fucking Murtazaliev? This is a guy who acted as if, oh yeah, I was going to fight Bud Crawford. Bullshit. Everybody knows you were never going to fight Bud Crawford. You wanted Errol Spence, an old fucking beaten up shot fighter. Tim Tszyu, a fucking broken down, destroyed fighter by Murtazaliev, and fucking an old fucking inactive fighter in Keith Thurman. This is typically what the PBC gives us, as opposed to giving us something that really matters, something that real boxing fans would be interested in. They give us bullshit fights with some name recognition, as if this is really what boxing fans want. Who wanted fucking Funduro versus Spence? Nobody. Spence needed to come back and do something. He never even fought at 154. That's why the WBO said, fuck you. And then Tim Tszyu, I talked about that fight. It was fucking bullshit that fight was fucking even made. And then, of course, now Keith Thurman. Fucking, oh my God. How the fuck is that fight getting made? I mean, it was just canceled, and hopefully it'll get canceled for good, because this is not how you make the 154-pound division one of the best divisions in boxing. It's how you show that fucking the PBC and everybody they fucking deal with are fucking clowns and terrible for the sport of boxing. What's up, Wayne Evans? I thought Calquet gave Backram a lot of trouble. He did, but look at the health issues that fucking Backram was dealing with at that point. Before the Calquet fight, Backram was going 8-rounders. That's not his problem. That was literally because he was part of the PBC. Do we need to show you what the PBC was doing to him when they were fucking literally ducking him and putting him on fucking undercards of Charlo when he was supposed to be fighting Charlo because he was Charlo's mandatory for fucking several years? Kind of like people say, David Benavidez is Canelo's fucking mandatory. How come nobody's fighting? How come blah, 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 blah. But when we talk about Charlo blatantly ducking fucking this guy, people ignore it. When we talk about how the IBF, who fucking has fucked up a lot of fucking fights and undisputed runs, literally allowed Charlo to duck this dude for years just so they could fucking put him into undisputed. Even though it took him several times to fucking actually achieve that. And at the same time, literally ducking this guy in the process. I agree Funduro shouldn't have been fighting Tim Tszyu 2 or this Keith Thurman fight. I think if you're a real boxing fan, you could not fucking disagree with it, because there's no reason those fights ever should have been made, except this is what the PBC consistently has done. People say, oh, you're hating on the PBC. No, the PBC is hating on you, charging you pay-per-view for this kind of fucking shit, and people fucking just ignore it. I'm not going to ignore it, but that's because I'm an outspoken big mouth that loves to fucking have people listen to my opinion. Love it or hate it. Right? This guy is one of the most exciting fighters in the division, a monster. His performance versus Tim Tszyu should have been top 3 for fight of the year because of the domination and demolition that he did to Tim Tszyu. It was a really humbling experience. And I guarantee you, Tim Tszyu is never really going to be relevant again, because mentally and physically, that shit fucking took a lot out of him. Kind of like his father, right? After he got fucking beat by Ricky Hatton, was never anything again, right? This is a similar situation to his son, who obviously is not old, but nobody has high expectations from him. But it's funny, nobody is talking about how he is being ducked, just like Golovkin. This is a very fair comparison. Do I think he's as good as Golovkin? No. He doesn't have the amateur pedigree Golovkin has. He didn't accomplish what Golovkin did in the amateurs. He doesn't have the fucking jab, world-class jab that Golovkin has. His power, he's got good power. I don't know if he's got Golovkin power. His chin looks good, but I don't know if he's got a Golovkin chin. But the way he's being treated, very similar. Very similar. Title shot off of beating Joey Spencer and Brock Jarvis is wild. Fucking mental. Mental. But this is boxing. And this is why if Turki Al-Sheikh and TKO Boxing no longer fucking deal with the sanctioning bodies and fucking ignore them and cut them out and only use Ring Magazine, I wouldn't be fucking sad. Fuck the sanctioning bodies. Well, there's history behind it. Yeah, whatever. Fucking we move on in every sport fucking ever. You can't hit anyone in football anymore. There's all kinds of fucking rules that consistently got maneuvered into every single sport in the world. So do we need 4 sanctioning bodies that fucking basically just tell fans to go fuck themselves consistently and really make the sport shit because they don't hold fucking these promoters and these fighters accountable like they should? If they did, boxing would be fucking great. No matter how much shitty promoters like PBC we had. Because they couldn't get away with it. They wouldn't be protected by fucking the sanctioning bodies like the WBA consistently fucking defended and protected the fucking PBC. Drunk Irishman's in the house. Wayne Evans, 1 champ per division. Anything else is just politics. Fucking fact. Fact. People go, oh, that's not good. You know, blah, 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 blah. Other people wouldn't get opportunities. There's more fighters today than there was before. So fucking beat contenders and earn your fucking title shot. The champion, he's fighting champions twice a year. Top contenders. Boom, boom. That's who you're fighting. You ain't fucking in easy because you're the champion. 2 fights a year against your top mandatories. Fucking prove you're the best. You're on the mountain. Motherfuckers want to knock you down. And to get up there to challenge a champion, you got to beat dudes. The fact the IBF allows a dude like fucking William Skull to become an IBF mandatory after beating fucking nobody is fucking wild and ridiculous. The fact that the WBC jams bullshit fucking fighters into the world title position and wonders why people are like, WBC are fucking weeby criminals. Yeah. Well, Sean, Turkey just lied about, oh my God, are you still going to fucking bring this up? I made a video about it. So fucking don't come to my channel moaning and groaning. You fucking don't complain about Al Heyman's PBC jamming shitty pay-per-views down your throat every fucking day. All 4 belts united is the true champion. All 4 belts united, but that's not true. Because historically there was 1 belt, and then they created 2. And then they created 3. And then the WBO came. And people were against the WBO. really adamant. I was around. And then finally it was fucking accepted and part of it. So no, we don't need 4 fucking titles. It's ruined the sport of boxing because now politics has fucked the sport and Americans. Zuffa, no cross promoting sucks. It goes against the best fighting the best. No, Bobby, because it's not going to be high level fighters. It's going to be like the WBC tournament we just had. Mid tier type of dudes. Once guys fucking become superstars, they won't fucking sign contracts with Zuffa. They will try to be more free agents, allowing them to get big money and super fights. So the same shit's going to happen. Promoters are still going to fucking do what they do. And you saying that, no crossover, yet the PBC historically never fucking crossed over. So did that make a difference? $80 for shit shows is wild. Wild. Except for Loma collects most of the belts, then Haney acted like he collected them by beating Cambosis. Exactly. WBO never should have been recognized. I agree. But out of all the fucking sanctioning bodies today, the only one that's half decent is the WBO. Ironic. The newest division and the one that should never have fucking been made is the only really legitimate one. WBC is shit. WBA is fucking corrupt. IBF is corrupt and fucking garbage and ruins the sport of boxing because of the bullshit they push all the time. You're stripping Usyk, you're stripping Canelo for bullshit opponents that never even earned a fucking world title fight. And you know they can't get it because nobody will pay to watch these bum-ass fucking fighters fight these other dudes because financially it's not fucking doable. If they made IBO legit, I'm going to lose it. Don't be surprised. Don't be fucking surprised, right? People try to justify the IBO. Not me. Golovkin had the IBO title forever. You've never even heard me recognize the IBO. Not even fucking mention it as one of his accolades. Because I don't need 5 fucking world titles. I need Ring Magazine. The rest, go fuck yourself. And all these YouTube channels that fucking give all these sanctioning bodies a pass all the time, but consistently point fingers at everybody else, they're the problem. They're the problem. So here we go. Let's look at fighters who literally fucking ducked. Literally ducked Murtazaliev. We'll start with Charlo because he's the guy that started this whole duck business. This guy fucking was a mandatory for Charlo for fucking over 2 years. The PBC, who controlled him, consistently shoveled him onto undercard fights, promising him the opportunity to fight Charlo next, only to push him down to the undercard fight to promise him a Charlo fight next. Well, Charlo was trying to become undisputed, getting beat by Tony Harrison. So then they had to rematch and do that again. Really? How come the IBF didn't force fucking Tony Harrison to fight fucking the mandatory like they do all the time? But not in this case. Then he fucking lost to Castano. Why didn't the IBF force Castano to fight the mandatory like they do all the time? No, he allowed fucking him to get an opportunity to rematch Castano. Finally, he became undisputed. And what did he do? Did he fight his mandatory, who'd been part of the PBC, an in-house fucking opponent, right? Who was promoted by Al Heyman, the great Al Heyman? No, he went up and fucking chased the cash and literally ducked Murtazaliev, right? And did the IBF elevate Murtazaliev to that number 1 position after that? No. He literally had to fucking beat someone to win the title. He wasn't elevated. As far as Virgil Ortiz, literally this motherfucker and his trainer just told you, oh, we can't really make the next day weigh-in for the IBF. So we can't really fight Murtazaliev for the IBF title. Meaning that if it's a unification fight, maybe they would. Yeah, because the money would be better. The fucking magnitude of the fight would be better. Right now, they don't want to risk taking him on for high risk, low reward. Right? So they're going to fight Erickson fucking Lubin as if that's a significant fight. You could have fought for an IBF world title. They could have fought for the WBO world title, but they chose to fight a contender like Erickson Lubin instead. as if somehow that's more significant than a fucking legitimate world title. It just tells you what the boxers think about the world titles. Not fucking much. Then you got fucking Funduro. I mean, we already spoke about him. Duck fucking Soup is this guy's middle name. This guy should have chased after Funduro after he knocked out Tim Tszyu. That would have been the obvious fucking direction to go. We both beat Tim Tszyu. We're both champions. Let's get it together. And they both fucking are affiliated with the PBC. But no. I'm going to fight bullshit. I'm going to fight Tim Tszyu again. Because that's the fight boxing fans want. Really. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were dying for that fight. You know, I made posts all the time. That's literally the only fight in boxing I fucking was asking for. And then, of course, Sandor Zayas, he's asking to fight fucking Ortiz, but he's not asking to fight Murtazaliev. You like did a face-off with Abbas, but you don't want to fight Murtazaliev. Murtazaliev is the easiest guy to negotiate. He will fight fucking anyone. He's like, please give me a fight. I'll fight everybody, all at once. Just line up. Let's do it. And then Lubin. Let's look at this fucking clown. Guy had 2 world title fights in his career, got beat both times. Finally earned himself an IBF world title versus fucking Murtazaliev to finally become 3 times lucky and become a world champion. And what did he do? Did he cash out on his mandatory IBF opportunity? No. He ran away from a Murtazaliev fight to go fight Virgil fucking Ortiz Jr. You can't make this shit up. These 5 dudes literally fucking ducked Murtazaliev like their life depended on it. If they keep all 4, they should have a Super 6 in each division. You mean if they keep all 4 sanctioning bodies, they should do a Super 6 tournament in every division? They should. But the problem is you got promoters that won't do it. We saw that the last time they did the World Boxing Super Series, right? And from that, you got Inouye, Taylor, Usyk, who all became undisputed world champions at heavyweight, junior welterweight, and bantamweight. It's a great way to holistically bring all the titles together. But we see that promoters didn't want to fucking work with these guys. That's why Taylor, he couldn't get it legitimately right away. He beat Regis Prograis, and then he had to try to negotiate to get a fight with Ramirez after the fact. When being dangerous bites you in the ass. Well, that's what this is. This is the epitome of when being dangerous bites you in the ass. And literally, this is what people ignore when they talk about Gennady Golovkin's career. When Bobby 77 goes, oh, Danny Garcia's got a way better resume than Gennady Golovkin. Nobody in history ever rated fucking Danny Garcia higher than they rated fucking Golovkin. Ever. Danny Garcia has never been a pound-for-pound fighter on any fucking pound-for-pound list. Ever. His run from junior welterweight to welterweight doesn't even come close to Tim Bradley's. Doesn't even fucking come close to Tim Bradley's. Because Tim Bradley didn't duck anyone at 140. Danny Garcia, that's comical. Comical. Right? A one fucking handed fighter, flat feet, fucking slow as molasses, whose best win was a fucking against a Chinny Amir Khan, who got knocked out by fucking Bradis fucking Prescott, who went on to do what? Get fucking beat 20-something times in his career. Oh my God. I mean, you notice when we talk about Bud Crawford and his great accolades, we don't mention fucking Bradis Prescott. Because there's no point mentioning that guy, because he's a fucking clown. Jamel totally ducked him. Of course, you're going to say he didn't, but he did. That was his IBF mandatory. Ask yourself, why did the IBF strip Usyk? Why did the IBF strip fucking Canelo at 150, 160, and again at 168, right? These guys didn't have outstanding mandatories that were over fucking 2 years like fucking Charlo had. Same as Spence. Also never had to fight his IBF mandatory opponent. Somehow, Whenever the PBC was involved, the WBA gave them titles. The IBF fucking allowed them never to fight their mandatories, and the WBC fucking always rewarded them when they could. Danny's run at 140 was way greater than Bud's. Literally, Danny Garcia fucking ducked Victor Postal. That's fucking well-known news. Literally ducked him. Bud Crawford beat him to become a unified champion. Danny Garcia literally ducked that fucking guy. Oh, yes, but his run is so great. Give me a fucking break. Like, only a fucking silly-ass fanboy like you would continue to come up with the stupidest bullshit ever. The IBF is fucking garbage. They've shown you that they'll strip a person in a fucking second. They didn't strip Charlo. They allowed Charlo multiple fucking opportunities to try to become an undisputed champion. They didn't let Canelo become an undisputed champion at 160. Did they? He beat Golovkin. All he had was Demetrius Andrade in front of him, who had the WBO title. That was obviously the fight that was going to get made until the IBF said, no, you can't unify. You got to fight your IBF mandatory. But yet, when we're talking about Charlo, they didn't do that. But you're going to fucking come out and defend them and defend Charlo. Of course you're going to defend Charlo. A guy who fucking, what has he done in his life? Got beat twice, became undisputed because the PBC controlled the 154-pound division. Congratulations. It's one of the weakest fucking runs of undisputed boxing we've ever fucking seen. Devin Haney's looks way better in comparison because at least Devin Haney went to Australia to beat a fucking undefeated fighter, didn't get beat the first time to fight him, won both fights. And then to top it off, fought Lomachenko, who was considered the best fighter at the weight. This dude couldn't even fight his mandatory, who was fucking his mandatory for over 2 fucking years. You want to go look at the undercards? They didn't even put Murtazaliev in the top part of the pay-per-view. They buried his ass so fucking deep on those cards that they never even gave him an opportunity to build up his name and even call out fucking Charlo in those events. It's a dirty fucking way of protecting your fighter. The same thing fucking Sturm and his promoter, the German promoter that Golovkin was attached to, did with Golovkin. The WBA fucking regular champion, the WBA super champion, and they never fucking ever mandated that fight between Golovkin and Sturm. Even though they had the same promoter, they could have done that fight in Germany. It could have been a huge fucking event, but they didn't do it because they knew Golovkin would fucking kill Felix Sturm. And that would fucking be the beginning of a superstar. So he had to wait 8 fucking years to get out of that contract to finally make his American debut. 8 fucking years. Come on, Sean. Campbell holds 2 Morales wins. Matias. See, once again, you fucking are listing names like a fanboy PBC guy, and you're not putting any context. Fucking Campbell had like fucking 6 to 8 losses. Holt, all he ever had was power. He was never a good fighter. He was a knockout puncher who did he beat? What's the best win in his resume? The guy never accomplished anything. Morales was a legend, but not at fucking 140. He was old, fat 140 fighter that literally fucking Danny had to fight twice because his first performance against Morales was so fucking dismal. Then he fought Khan, who got knocked out by Breedis Prescott, and Matias, a guy who literally never became a champion, had already previously been beaten by Zab Judah, and Zab Judah was fucking done at this time. Done. Zab Judah's best run was at 147 years fucking earlier when he was the undisputed champion. By the time he was fighting here, he was an opponent. He wasn't a fucking champion. He wasn't even a fucking champion contender. He was kind of like when Tank Davis fought fucking Gamboa. Had name recognition, but wasn't fucking ranked by the fucking WBA. He wasn't ranked in the top 15. But then, of course, once he signed a contract to fight Tank Davis, the WBA fucking slid his ass right in to that fucking position. You know that. We all know that. But you're going to ignore that because that's the kind of fucking dick riding PBC fanboy you fucking are. Pathetic. American fans, the most pathetic fans in the sport of boxing for this kind of bullshit that they consistently have pushed. But we don't expect anything different from you. Uh, this Danny versus GG debate is interesting. Wash legends obviously aren't better than prime legends, but they are better than guys like Ndongo and Postal. No, Postal was a fucking undefeated world champion that Danny Garcia fucking ducked. Ducked. And Ndongo was way more relevant than any of those fighters because he literally just beat fucking two champions to become a unified champion. Whereas everyone you listed, let's list them. Campbell, Holt, Morales, Matias, and Khan and Judah weren't even fucking world champions when he fought them. So it's like, okay, so you fought who? What's the point? You put names on your resume. And that's all you did. That's what the PBC consistently does. They use old shot fighters, they recycle them to utilize their name to hype up and build up overrated fucking fighters that end up doing nothing in the sport of boxing. What did Danny Garcia do? He fucking ducked Crawford. He didn't fight Broner in in-house fight. He ducked Postal to go to 147 and literally do fucking nothing in that division. His run at 147 is one of the weakest runs in fucking boxing history. He fought Rod fucking Selka. Like, you can't defend that shit. It's pathetic. Pathetic. But okay, you dick ride that. Because that's what we expect from you. To always be the voice of fucking unreason. But these five dudes blatantly fucking ducked Murtazaliev. Does it mean Murtazaliev would beat them all? I don't know. I didn't get the chance to see fucking Murtazaliev fight them. We got some interesting style matchups here, you know. But unfortunately, these guys were too pussy to fucking challenge him. And this is the exact same thing you guys did to Golovkin. When he was a champion at 160, you fucking blatantly allowed all the other champions to duck him, and you defended it. You justified it. You silly ass Waldo. Yet you fucking are all over social media the last year and a half talking about how Canelo's ducking David Benavidez. How is Benavidez any different than fucking Golovkin? Not different. The difference is Golovkin was at least a champion. David Benavidez had no belt because, unlike Golovkin, he's so unprofessional. He lost his titles twice because he's a bonehead. A bonehead. Better than playing it safe by beating Steve Rolls of the world. He beat Steve Rolls after fucking coming off of a loss to fucking Canelo Alvarez. Steve Rolls is way better than fucking Rod Selka. Give me a break. Danny's only lost to killers going up in weight. Killers. Porter, Thurman, and Spence. Not legends. Not Hall of Famers. None of those guys fucking are anywhere close to the top 10 of the best welterweights of boxing history. None of them. Spence probably the closest. The rest, what do they do? Thurman's resume is garbage. Porter fucking really never fucking successfully made a defense of his world titles. He lost to Ugis, but was gifted a fucking a legitimate defense in that title. Come on. Let's not act like those guys were somehow great fighters with big accomplishments. None of them were. They were more fucking hype job PBC fighters that were hyped by the PBC and casual American fans who somehow dick rode Showtime like it was fucking God reincarnated. Showtime. The Matias fight was a good win for Danny. Was the underdog going to that fight, even though Danny was undefeated, unified, and Ring Magazine champ. Even though, why? Well, because of public opinion, not because Matias had actually done anything. He'd already been beaten by Zab Judah. All would be the best win of GG's resume. Bullshit. Bullshit. Canelo is the best win of fucking GG's resume and is fucking leaps and bounds better than anybody you're talking about. But let's move forward. So, who would I like to see him fight? Here you go. Here's the list of fighters I would like him to fight. Not easy cherry picks. Not fucking Keith Thurman or fucking Errol Spence coming off a knockout loss, moving up in weight, or fucking Tim Tszyu after getting knocked the fuck out. No. None of those bum ass fucking kind of opponents. Legitimate fighters. World champion contenders. World champions. Sebastian Fundero versus Murtazaliev would be a fucking very intriguing fight. They obviously both had connections to Al Haym in the PBC. Fundero, super tall and long. It would be an interesting matchup to see how Murtazaliev would deal with that length, right? Because obviously it's not a normal fucking thing to fight a guy like Fundero, who I think, to be fair and legitimate, has been getting better and better since he's been champion, even though he hasn't been proving it against legitimate opponents. Virgil Ortiz versus Murtazaliev would be a fucking great fight. Two bangers, aggressive come forward fighters with great skill sets, but legitimate power. Oh my God. That fight would be fucking fight of the year. Like, who wouldn't want to see Murtazaliev versus Virgil Ortiz? Like, that fight would just be one of the best fights of 2025 or 2026. Madrimov, stylistically, an awkward, difficult style matchup. But here's an Eastern European, being a man, getting an opportunity because nobody else wants to fight Murtazaliev. So we know he's in for fucking all the smoke. So here you go. Here's another opportunity to try to win a world title. You lost your title to Bud Crawford, and then you fucking got beat by fucking Virgil Ortiz. Now you could get in there with Murtazaliev, beat him, and get the boogeyman out of the division and literally fucking put yourself in big money fights, which Turki Al-Sheikh would probably finance. And then, of course, you got Boots Ennis, the newest man to the division. I wouldn't say Boots ducked because Boots just moved into the division. Boots wants to prove he's the best fighter in the division. Here's an easy fight for him. He literally could have been elevated by the IBF and mandated by the IBF to be an opponent for Murtazaliev. He didn't want to go that route, though. I won't say he ducked, but he didn't want to go that route. He wanted to take a cherry pick fight before fucking taking on one of these killers in this division. And the real killer at this point got to be Murtazaliev. Who would you guys like to see Murtazaliev fight out of this group of fighters? PBC hyped them like crazy. Only fighter who ducked GG was Canelo in 2016. Canelo eventually fought him. He ducked him and got stripped of his title. And these guys don't even talk about it. If GG was Black American, oh my God, that shit would never fucking, it would still be talked about today every time Canelo's name was mentioned. And then, of course, Sergio Martinez, Felix Sturm, Peter Quillen, fucking Daniel Geale, fucking Arthur Abraham, fucking Pavlik. The list of guys that ducked him is fucking huge. But somehow you ignore that. Because if you accepted it, it'd be proven what a fucking idiot you are, right? And how stupid your fucking narrative is to actually justify these guys ducking him. But you did justify it. John Boxing made a million videos justifying Cotto, Sergio Martinez, and Canelo to not fight Golovkin. Please don't fight him. I don't want him to be proven great. I'd rather he never got a big fight, and then I could talk about how he's a hype job and shit because he didn't fight anybody. Okay. GG never beat Canelo, 1 draw, 2 losses. Yeah, that's from a fucking idiot. Everybody that's a legitimate boxing fan knows that fucking Golovkin beat his ass in the first fight, and that terrible fucking scorecard by that fucking racist black chick fucking was the biggest robbery in boxing history. Again, nobody fucking even talks about that. I wonder why. Because it helped justify a narrative that you're still pushing fucking today. Still pushing today. Come on, that Judah fight was bullshit. Matias won that. I agree with you, but the reality is the fight should never have been that fucking close. Zab Judah was fucking shot and done at that point. Matias, if he was really that great, should have fucking ran over him. But Matias was proven that he wasn't that great. He was a fan-friendly fighter, right? a guy that was getting more hype than Maidana, but was he better than Maidana? In hindsight, we have to say no. Isn't Backroom fighting Kelly? No, because of the politics of boxing, they're offering Kelly 15% of the purse bid. 15%. Like, what kind of fucking incentive is that shit? She is black. Shut the fuck up. What kind of incentive is it to offer a dude 15% of a fucking small pot? So we got like a $100,000 pot. We're going to give you 15% of that. So you're going to give me 15 grand. I could fight some bum ass dude in fucking England in my neck of the woods and easily make more than $15,000. Why would I take on fucking Backroom Murtazalia for that much money? Right? This is the problem with boxing. How the fuck do they even justify that? It's ridiculous. And this is coming from the IBF, right? 85-15. Like, let's be fair, 60-40, man. Even if you want to do 65-35, even though it still seems a little low if you actually want somebody to accept the fight. But the bigger question is, why didn't they accept the fight before it went to fucking purse bid? Because they wanted to get more money. So now you go to purse bid and you offer this much money, the fight's never fucking going to get done. This is the consistent fucking play in the sport of boxing. They try to negotiate big money, and then once it goes to purse bid and they know that the percentage isn't even what they were negotiating outside, then they fucking just walk away from purse bid and say, no. Al Heyman does it all the time. They intentionally rob foreign fighters like GGG or Loma to hype up American fighters. Real boxing fans know that. Know it. Kovalev beat Andre Ward fucking convincingly. Golovkin beat fucking Canelo. He had him on the ropes consistently through that fight, outworking him, outlanding him. And Lomachenko beat Devin Haney. Anybody that's not a fucking fanboy of Haney recognizes that. If you're a fanboy of Ward, Canelo, and Haney, then of course I accept that you're never going to fucking accept that because you just are a fanboy and you can't be fucking legitimate and fair, unlike me, who can be. Isn't Backroom versus Kelly going to purse bid? Yeah. And they're offering 15%, 85-15 split. If I was Eddie Hearn, overpaying the purse bid as long as Backroom guarantees that Boots will be next. Yeah, but they don't want fucking Backroom next. They're going after fucking Abbas, right? The easy fight. They're not going after Backroom, Murtazalia. No fucking chance. And also with next day weigh-in, they're going to make sure they give themselves plenty of fucking leverage. And then they'll probably take Virgil Ortiz afterwards because it's a big money fight. And then Funduro, because at that time for unification, it's a big money fight. And then maybe you take fucking Xander Zayas because for 3 of the 4 belts, it's a big money fight, which means nobody's going to be fucking chasing Backroom Murtazalia. The dude literally hasn't had a fight, and the IBF hasn't forced a fight in a fucking year. The same IBF that strips a motherfucker in a second. But somehow they can't get an opponent for Backroom Murtazalia. I just don't understand it. It's fucking too difficult for my small brain to fucking comprehend. What's up, Tavern? You know, this is the politics of boxing, which is why if they implode the sanctioning bodies, I will fucking cheer and clap, make a video fucking talking about how great it is for the sport of boxing to get rid of those low-life fucking scumbags. All of them. Even though, to be fair, I did praise Suleiman with the WBC tournament he just did with Turki Al-Sheikh and DAZN, because that's what we need. That's what TKO boxing is going to give us, that level of fights. Fighters we don't know in really competitive, fun matchups, and at the end of the day, we're going to learn and become fans of fighters that we didn't even know we liked. Flags era starts tonight. Yes, it does. It does. And obviously, it's a good matchup. Aren't they playing San Antonio, right? San Antonio and Dallas, first game of the year. You know, Flag versus fucking Wimby. Him, number 1 versus number 2. Of course, the guy San Antonio drafted number 2 is there as well. So, there's lots of storylines for that game. So it should be really interesting. Obviously, today we just had LA lose to Curry and Golden State, and we had Oklahoma beat Houston. Even though both teams are not healthy, it was a good game. Houston should have won, but the problem is Durant is not the killer that he once was. He's a little old, and in the fourth quarter, he's just not capable anymore. Not capable of giving you that extra something you need to win games like that go into double overtime. Back in the day, he would have hit that game winner for sure. But what do you guys think about these four fighters? Who would you prefer to see Bakr Mirzaliyev fight next? If you could pick only one, who would it be? As I said, I would prefer obviously Virgil Ortiz, but we know Virgil Ortiz blatantly ducked him. We know what his trainer said, Garcia, is we can't make 175 next day weigh-in comfortably and healthy, so we can't fight him. Even though we would fight him, and we would love to fight him, we can't fight him. So, we know they're ducking him, even though that would be a fucking great matchup. And to be fair, it's not that I want to see Ortiz get beat, because I want to see Boots Ennis versus Ortiz, which is a fight we've been asking for fucking years, right? The problem with getting Boots in the fight, Boots hasn't done anything at 154 now. So if Bakr Mirzaliyev fucking beats his ass, people are going to say, oh, well, Boots was untested. He wasn't proven at 154 pounds. He just fought this fucking unknown African guy that fucking nobody knew who he was that knocked him out in one round. Whereas we've seen Virgil Ortiz in some legitimate fucking fights against legitimate top 10 competition. And even though he struggled in the first fight, he came through, got the victory. And then, of course, against Madrimov, he looked really good. Even though Madrimov now says he wasn't healthy and was suffering some serious health issues during that fight, which, I tend to believe him because we saw him perform against Bud Crawford and he fought fucking really different versus fucking Virgil Ortiz. Not even close to similar. So that could be because of his health. Just not being able to breathe, not having the ability to move and box in and out like he did against Bud Crawford. Bakram versus Ortiz. Ortiz needs to start fighting for belts. He does, man. He needs to fight for a belt. The fact that Lubin gave up his world title fight versus Mirzaliyev to fight Ortiz. Ortiz could have fought Mirzaliyev. Obviously, though, if Lubin was there and he didn't fight Lubin, then Lubin probably would have fought Mirzaliyev. So if Virgil Ortiz would have done what he should have done, which was what most of us want him to do, fight Xander Zayas, Mexico versus Puerto Rico, then we probably would have got Mirzaliyev versus Lubin because Lubin would have had nowhere else to go, right? That would have been his opportunity to win a world title, to put himself in a big money fight with Ortiz or Fonduro down the road. 100%, Sean. Bohochuk gets thoroughly outclassed. The Brandon Adams looks bad on Virgil. Yeah, but see, Bobby, that's part of the reason why I mock and ridicule you constantly on my channel. Because that's a real casual fucking perspective. Styles make fights. You can't use a triangle theory to somehow dick ride one fighter and elevate him based on fucking what somebody else did. That's like giving Floyd Mayweather credit for Juan Manuel Marquez knocking out Manny Pacquiao. Well, Juan Manuel Marquez knocked out Manny Pacquiao. You didn't. You don't fight anything like Marquez. Yes, you beat Marquez easily, but you're not Marquez. You would never have fucking knocked out Manny Pacquiao. You think Xander is the goods? Hey, on my channel, I fucking was the only person defending Xander Zayas when the rest of these dudes were fucking hating on him like crazy. Who's been vindicated? This guy. Because now Xander Zayas is a WBO 154-pound world fucking champion. And he beat the same guy that the boogeyman, Charles Conwell, got fucking beat by in Perez. And I'm not hating on Conwell. I like Conwell. but styles make fights. Going into that Perez-Conwell fight, I said on my channel, don't be surprised if fucking Perez beats Conwell. Perez is a dangerous fighter and stylistically not a good matchup for Charles Conwell. Hopefully Charles gets back in the ring and gets an opportunity to get back up there swinging and redeeming himself. I might have hated on Xander a bit, laugh out loud. Everybody on this channel was hating on Xander Zayas. Xander, out of everybody here currently at the 154-pound division, hey, what's up, pound for pound, is probably the best boxer out of all of them. Even more so than Boots, because Boots is not a traditional boxer, right? Potentially, maybe he could be, but he just doesn't do that. The problem with Xander is he's young. He hasn't shown much power since his motorcycle crash, and his gas tank seems to fade late in fights. Even though his last two fights versus world champions, he's done well and won both of those fights, right? Sorry, Perez wasn't a world champion, but obviously the guy he beat before that had been a world champion. So, maybe that's an issue he's growing out of and starting to do well against. I don't know how long he can stay at 154, but we could say that about most of the guys at 154. A lot of them look like they're fucking this close to growing out of the division and moving up to 160. That's why when we think about the middleweight division, probably fucking by 2026, that division is going to be fucking hot. And 154 is going to be fucking barren like a desert because there's no real good fighters at 147 that are going to move up to 154. But there's a shitload of really good competition at 154 who potentially can move up to 160. A lot, like 10 dudes, right? You throw them all in that division with fucking the guys up there now, Carlos Adames, Ramos, and of course fucking Janibek. And if Bud Crawford comes down, obviously he's just going to fight for big money fights and all the titles. But nonetheless, it's going to be a fucking exciting division once again. Because that's boxing, right? What comes around goes around. Divisions consistently have ebb and flows. Right now, the welterweight division is fucking dead. 140 was really hot. Then it was kind of not. Now it's not bad. 135 was super hot and nothing really happened. And now the division is kind of fucking, once Shakur and Tank Davis get out of that division, then what the fuck do you have? Some good, okay fighters and then a great young fighter. But let's move forward. So, speaking of up-and-coming fights, the end of 2025 looks great. Here we go with some big matches, obviously some better than others, but I want you to think about, out of all these fights, what's the one fight you're most excited about? The one. You have Eubank Jr. Ben 2, the rematch. I was never big on this fight to begin with. Obviously, the fight wasn't bad. It was entertaining, even though I could give fucks who won the fight. So I always assumed Eubank would win because he's just the bigger natural middleweight, and Ben is a small guy. And that's how it played out. I expect in the rematch, potentially it's going to be the same. Then you got Benavidez versus Yard. Potentially, this might be the most exciting fight. Benavidez might make a real statement, right? Beating Yard in exciting fashion would be a fucking real statement. But I still lean towards Yard. I think Yard's jab, his power, his physicality, right? He's a natural 175er, a guy that comfortably could fight a cruiserweight. So I think he's going to physically be too much for Benavidez. But we will see. Then Haney versus Norman. I mean, of course, people were super stoked about this fight. Norman was coming off a sensational knockout versus a nobody. Devin Haney obviously had looked mediocre versus an old fighter in Ramirez. So people were kind of down on him. And when he jumped at an opportunity to fight Norman, people were stoked. They're like, yeah, that's what we want to see. You take on a young, hungry, dangerous fighter, somebody that has a left hand, and we could test to see if you really are legitimate at 147 pounds. People really question if his power was going to be able to transition up to this class, how his chin was going to deal with bigger fighters. But now that I think about the fight, I think kind of Norman is kind of tailor-made for Haney. So I think this could be a real boring fight. Devin Haney boxing and moving, winning a unanimous decision, with Norman trying to get to him all night, but never being able to get in that range to actually land something big. To be fair, I'd be super happy if fucking Anthony Yard knocked out David Benavidez. I'd be super happy if fucking Brian Norman knocked out Devin Haney. You would not hear me complain if those two fights went that way. But I kind of favor the main guys because I think boxing wise, they probably have the edge over the more physically dominant fighter. Then you got Bam Rodriguez in what potentially could be the best opponent of his career in Puma Martinez. Something we've been asking for, right? Not an old fighter, not a small fighter, but a real legitimate dude that could test him. But in saying that, I do think Ioka beat Martinez in their last fight. And I think he's just steps below Rodriguez. I think, to be fair, we're not really going to see the best of Rodriguez until he moves up to 118 and maybe 122 to become a 3 and 4 weight world champion. So I would prefer if he just goes up quick and fucking gets in with the big opponents while he could, right? You got Junto, you got Inui, take on the winner, right? If Bam Rodriguez jumped up to take on the winner of Junto and fucking Inui, that would be the biggest small man fight in American boxing history. You could put that fight in America. Bam Rodriguez taking on whoever, Junto or fucking Inui, in the States, in a huge venue in Texas, right? That fight would be huge. It'd be a great opportunity for Americans to focus on smaller weight boxing, and that's the kind of fight that could really grab their attention, right? Especially depending on how Junto or Inui win their historical matchup later this year. Then, of course, you got Mason versus Sam Noakes. I expect Mason to be way too much for Noakes. Noakes is, at this point, a domestic UK fighter. He may prove to me that he's more than that, but at this point, I don't think he's more than that. I expect Mason is going to be too fast, too long, too powerful, and Sam Noakes will be lucky if he goes 8 rounds. And then we'll have a new world champion at 135 pounds. Then you have Inui versus Picasso. Obviously, I'm really looking forward to Inui versus Nakatani. And this card I'm super stoked about. If you watched my last video about what card would you pay for to end the year, this is definitely the card I would pay for. I don't think it's the card you guys would pay for. You'd probably pay for Benavidez and Haney, justifiably so. For American fans, that's a card that I understand you would like more. But for me, I'm not American. I would prefer fucking Inui Nakatani card. It's a deep card with a lot of fighters I like, and I think it's going to be really fun, especially them all going to Saudi Arabia to sort of make a name for themselves. So with Junto and Inui, obviously I'm stoked about the whole card. As far as the fights, I expect them to win. These are good opponents, but they're not supposed to be opponents that are going to beat them because we don't want a banana peel fucking up the super fight in Japan. So out of all these fights listed, the fight I probably am most excited about is David Benavidez versus Anthony Yard. As I said, I favor Anthony Yard, but I do see how Benavidez could beat him. Great jab, high volume. I don't think his power is going to be an issue. I think it's mostly going to be his boxing ability. Not that he has good feet, but Anthony Yard is not exactly a fucking mover and a shaker. But Benavidez' jab and his work, his combination punching, I think as the fight progresses, depending on how successful Anthony Yard could be, David Benavidez could eventually wear him down and stop him in that fight, which would be a great victory for Benavidez. But I favor Yard because I think Benavidez has never fought anyone physically as dominant as him, whose jab is really going to fucking shake him up and whose power shots are going to fucking rattle his brain. But let me know in the comment section below. What do you guys think? Which fight do you prefer? I missed a bunch. Where are we? 147 is Weak Ash, Rolly Barrios, Betty Crocker. Paro, who is ranked number 1 after winning the IBF belt. Ryan Garcia said about GG, he is not a side fighter. Yeah, but who gives a fuck what Ryan Garcia's got to say? Ryan Garcia is Ryan Garcia. We're going to fucking hate on everything he says, only to dick ride when he's anti-Golovkin? No. The 22nd card is fire. That tells you how weak 147 is. Benavidez versus Yard, the one I'm looking forward to the most. Same. Do you have Parker beating Wardley? I do. Hooney was winning very easy up to him getting KO'd. Parker has shown the ability to get off the canvas and win. And to be fair, I mean, Parker has just proven more than Hooney. He's got a better chin. He's just a physically bigger guy with far more experience, been in with way better competition. Not that Wardley couldn't knock him out. Anything is possible. But I do favor Parker, and I want to see him in the Usyk fight. If you haven't watched my video talking about Usyk and his last 5 fights, go check it out. Pitbull Roach card better than Nui card. Fuck off. Bullshit. If I never see that fight card, I could care less. What great fight on that card is fucking something that makes you excited. Nothing wrong with this card. It's decent. DB's speed will help a lot. Yeah, and that's what I think. It's mostly the short speed shots, the combination punching. If Yard can throw with him, right? I think that's going to be the key. Throw with him and land those counter shots. Then it could be a fucking short night. David Benavidez' fucking hype job run as a PBC fighter could be fucking over. Come on, man. As I said, see, Bobby once again picking fights. I'm not comparing cards. I said I prefer the fucking Japanese card. I assume most of you prefer the Benavidez and Haney fight card, but you bring up fucking Pitbull Roach. Nobody's asking you to fucking rank which card you think is better than the other. Which card would your cheap ass fucking pay for? That's the question. Once Yard connects a power shot, DB will be on skates. If he is, the fight's over. That's going to be the real test for Benavidez. How he's able to deal with that power from Anthony Yard. And if he can deal with it, then it might be an easy night for him, right? Even though I don't think Kovalev had an easy night with Yard, and I fucking know Beterbiev didn't have an easy night with Anthony Yard. Nobody that's beat Anthony Yard had an easy fucking night with him. So I do think it's going to be a real test. If Benavidez makes it an easy night, shoo! Statement. Huge statement. We will see. I'll give him full credit if he does that, but you still got to do it. Unlike John Boxing, who said he's going to give Inouye credit for beating Fulton and put him pound for pound top 1, 2, or 3. I can't remember what he said. I will give Benavidez full credit. And I will say he's legitimately deserves to be a pound for pound top 10 fighter if he does that. But yeah, you know, overall, I mean, I think all these fights are fun and interesting. Even the Eubank Ben fight, even though it's the least interesting fight to me. I mean, maybe UK fans are more excited about it, but for me, neither one of those guys fucking has done anything. Eubank ducked Golovkin, right? Fucking multiple times. And Ben is a guy who never proved fucking anything on any level. Benavidez Yard, great matchup. Haney Norman, great matchup. Rodriguez versus Martinez, great matchup. Mason Noakes, we will see. Both guys are really untested and unproven, so you never know how that fight will unfold. Maybe Noakes will be a banana skin for fucking Abdullah Mason. Inouye versus Picasso, that's his mandatory. So people shouldn't be moaning. Inouye's fought everybody at 122 pounds. There's nobody who can say that he ducked, so he's fighting one of his mandatories. What else would you expect him to do? Nakatani is moving up to his 4th weight division, fighting an undefeated, hard-punching Mexican fighter. We see how that shit's worked out for UK champions. The list of world champions that held belts that were from the UK that pulled over, primarily Eddie Hearn, pulled over Mexican opponents to the UK to make their first title defense. How did that work out for the majority of those UK champions? Most of them got fucking knocked out and lost their world titles. So I know John Boxing would love to downplay and dismiss Hernandez, but think about this. Espinoza right now has made, 3, 4 WBO title defenses at a 126. Now he's got another one scheduled against a tough fighter. This was a guy nobody knew who the fuck that guy was. When Robsy Ramirez was scheduled to fight him, it was just supposed to be a simple fucking mandatory opponent. Was even a mandatory? I'm not even sure, but just a simple fucking opponent, putting Robsy Ramirez in position to potentially be the Inouye fight when Inouye moved to 126. We saw how that fucking worked out. This unknown fucking Mexican fighter that nobody ever seen fight before went in there and fucking upset the apple cart and has now made 3 or 4 successful title defenses at the division, rematching Robsy Ramirez and fucking destroying him even more convincingly in the rematch. And Robsy Ramirez is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist. So it's not some bum, hyped up shit fighter. This is a guy with great amateur pedigree who was a world champion and was knocking motherfuckers out at 126. Benavidez had his chin tested versus Vostik. Morel, also that PBC fighter back at 168 pounds, Glad something, who also dropped him multiple times, right? He ended up having to fighting that guy 2 times because the first time was such a disappointing performance. So be careful for Hernandez. Even think about Jaime Munguia. Jaime Munguia was this unknown Mexican kid who was being pushed in as a replacement opponent for Golovkin for Canelo Alvarez. The commission said, no bueno, we don't know who this kid is. It's too big of a test. Only for Munguia to move to 154, knock out a world champion, to become a 154-pound world champion. Again, an unknown Mexican fighter that nobody knew, that people were sleeping on, that went in there and fucking delivered. So don't underestimate fucking Hernandez or Picasso, because that might be the worst thing you could do. Bud fan told me the only way Inouye can pass Bud in pound for pound is to jump up to 135 and beat Shakur or Tank. He ain't a Bud fan. He's a PBC fanboy. Give me a break. Give me a break. That's the same thing fucking Tank Davis fans were saying. Fucking who? Fat Boy fucking 78 said, I'll never give Inouye credit until he goes up to 135 and knocks out fucking Tank Davis. So you literally justify Devin Haney ducking Tank Davis, but then you want Inouye to move up to fucking 7 divisions to fight Tank Davis and not beat him, but knock him out before you give credit. And then all you do is accuse him of PEDs. We know how that fucking goes. We've seen it before. We've seen how it unfolds. We see how Devin Haney, the next Floyd Mayweather, would fucking be defended, and how fucking Inouye would be the PED cheat. We've seen it plenty of fucking times already. So, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Tank ain't shit. But meanwhile, Tank fought nobody and ducked Roach. Pathetic. But they made excuses for Tank ducking Loma and Haney. Literally, the dude ducked fucking Lomachenko for fucking 6 years. 6 years. And now these guys are like, look, Lomachenko ducked Tank Davis. You should fucking hope he ducked Tank Davis. Because if he would have fought Tank Davis, he would have beat his ass. Because Lomachenko's a way better fighter than fucking Lamont Cockroach. Without a fucking doubt. No fucking choice. I always knew Lomachenko would frustrate and beat Tank Davis. I expected Tank Davis to no mas versus fucking Lomachenko. And what I got from that Roach fight was that what I thought was fucking 100% true. That dude is mentally fucking weak and would crack like crazy if he fought a legitimate fighter like Lomachenko. Floyd said, we'll H him out, and Tank fans were like, thank God. Yeah, remember Tank Davis when Floyd threatened to make the Lomachenko fight. Fucking cried and took back all the negative things he was saying about Floyd Mayweather. Oh, I'm sorry. Don't put me in that fight. He even fucking cried to Floyd that Floyd was fucking doing him wrong, doing him dirty when he put him in with Petraza. That dude never wanted to fight anybody. Loma would have schooled Tank easy. He just had to nullify that left and inside uppercut. Floyd knew Tank couldn't do it. He knew it. He knew it. And that's what the PBC knew fucking for most of their top fighters, who they fucking put on PBC Island and fucking avoided every legitimate challenge available. Mike Tyson, Wilder, Foreman, Tank, a lot of those power punchers run into mental stuff. To be fair, those other guys, not Wilder, because Wilder is fucking garbage truck juice, but Foreman and Tyson, they ran into mental stuff after getting beat. Tank Davis never got beat officially. Mike Tyson had no mental stuff until he fucking overlooked Buster Douglas, fucked a million girls a night in Japan, and then got fucking beat by Buster Douglas, even though he still almost knocked him out in that fight. And after that, the unbeatable fucking thing was crumbled. Foreman the same. Only after he got beat by Ali did now this fucking mental issues, you know, no longer having faith in himself became a hurdle. For Wilder, I guess you could say it was similar, but Wilder fucking had that issue when? Because he struggled with fucking Fury. He didn't lose, he had a draw. And then the next two times he got knocked the fuck out. We just want to see Tank fight the best. That's it. How can you claim you're the best when you don't want to fight the best? This is another example of what my video today is. People literally have shit on fucking Golovkin for years, still shitting on Golovkin today, right? Because he didn't fight the best. But these same people literally fucking made videos telling these fighters to not fight him. So literally you didn't want Golovkin to get the big fights, so you could use that against him to shit on him afterwards. And that's exactly what you're fucking doing now. And that's what you're doing to Murtazaliev, and that's what you spent your whole life doing for Golovkin, right? Tank Davis, I'm not like that. I want Tank Davis to get the big fights. Loma, Shakur, Devin Haney. Prove you are great. And then with that, I will praise you as being great, like Bud Crawford. Crawford proved he's great. I say he's great. Because he did what he had to do. There's no need for me to fucking make excuses and fucking hate on him and, say this and say that. No. He proved he's great. So all I can say now is he's great. Y'all want to see him fight guys from 115. I'm not a big Tank guy. However, I can't be mad at a guy who isn't legacy fighter fighting Jake Paul. What do you mean he's not a legacy fighter? He's the face of American boxing. Pay-per-view superstar. The only reason he's not a legacy fighter is because his team, his promoter, and him, they're all bitches that consistently run all their fighters that way. They learned when Adrian Broner stepped up and got fucking smashed by Maidana that they were never, ever going to make the same mistake again. But they did because they allowed Spence to fight fucking Bud Crawford. And they allowed Wilder to fight fucking Fury. So they continue to make the same stupid mistakes again and again. But with Tank Davis, they literally fucking ducked and dodged that mistake, only for him to get exposed by fucking a cherry picking Lamont Roach. You can't make that shit up. Wayne Prob, I would like Keyshawn Haney or Stevenson fight, even Richard Hitchens or Liam Paro, but I think Paro moved to 147. He did. Paro versus Tank would be a good one. Well, to be realistic, I mean, Shakur Stevenson is not a big guy. And Shakur was a champion, and Tank Davis was a champion. That was the fucking obvious fight to make. Both guys considered pound for pound level fighters. I mean, that was the only fight to make. You don't even need to think about him moving up in weight, taking on challenges against other fucking dudes. Excuse me, I'm getting water. Yeah, like literally, that was the natural fight to make. Shakur in his third weight division started pro at 126, moved up, is not that tall or that long, so he doesn't have a lot of physical advantages over Tank Davis compared to many other fighters. So, counter puncher versus counter puncher. So stylistically, it might not have been a great fight because nobody is really the aggressor in that fight. But nonetheless, it didn't matter if it was going to be a great fight. It was a legacy fight. Well, that's it. The fans want the fights more than Tank Davis does. And that's pathetic. And the problem is those fans literally fucking asked everybody else to take those fights. But then a lot of them fucking give Tank Davis a fucking complete pass, like Bobby77, who says, I'm not a big Tank guy. However, since he's not chasing legacy, I'm okay with him going for the money grab. Any more news on Andy Cruz fighting Muratalla? Apparently, they were back into negotiation. I don't know what happened with the other fight. Who was going to be the replacement opponent? First, it was Cruz, but Cruz walked away before it went to purse bid, and then they tried to replace it with another opponent. I don't know why I can't think who it is, but apparently that fell through too. So now Cruz is back in the conversation. But what else does Cruz expect? It's a world title fight. He's not a big name. How much money can he expect to get paid? Like, that guy doesn't deserve 50-50 versus Muratalla. That's a 60-40. Muratalla's the champion. You're the contender. Muratalla's not an established champion, so he doesn't deserve 85-15, but nonetheless, he deserves to get fucking paid legitimate. Sean, kids are watching. Cover that up. Cover that up. I think Keyshawn is too big and strong for Tank. Me too. I always felt Keyshawn Davis would fucking destroy Tank Davis. But people are like, no, he's untested. Keyshawn not that good. Tank Davis would beat him. Keyshawn Davis is a fucking legitimate 140-pound fighter with length, power, and speed. He would sit in the outside behind his jab and fucking just nail Tank Davis with fucking big shots. Cruz just had the purse bid on the 16th. Did he have it? I thought it was delayed until the 22nd. Supposedly, Muratalla has till February to fight. Well, if he went to purse bid, then it wouldn't be he has till February to fight. If it goes to purse bid, then it's fucking signed, sealed, and delivered. Keyshawn stops him. Even Mason. Mason's young, so I would favor Tank Davis to beat Abdullah Mason, even though Mason's dangerous. Carrington got fucking exposed by fucking Sagawa, right? If you fucking look bad against Sagawa, what's going to happen when you fight Tank Davis? Tank Davis going to fucking test that chin. Is Inouye next for Tank after Jake? Come on, get fucking real. Inouye's not fighting fucking Tank Davis. Inouye's fighting Junto Nakatani. And then if he beats him, if Bam Rodriguez wants to fucking fight, then they could do that fight. But probably it's going to be a fucking ball fight in Saudi Arabia for Inouye to become a 5-weight world champion. Right? Is he going to be undisputed at 126? I don't think he needs to be. Already becoming a 5-weight world champion is historic. If he becomes undisputed in that weight class, he will equal Bud Crawford as a 3-division undisputed champion. I know some people lose their mind, but it's a possibility. But I expect that, the problem at 126 is none of those motherfuckers want to risk fighting each other. At least Stephen Fulton moved up to do something great. The rest of them are doing fucking mediocre shit that True School Sports, of course, defends one guy only to fucking shit on the other, as if what this guy's doing is somehow historic. You fight an old, irrelevant Japanese fighter in Japan, and now you're going to fight a young, fucking, irrelevant Japanese fighter in Japan, and somehow that's fucking historic and justifies that fucking that guy is such a great fighter. Really? Really? Like, you're fighting two dudes that fucking have done nothing in the division. The last guy he beat has never been a legitimate world champion. He was a WBA regular champion. And when he did that, it took him multiple fights to actually fucking win it against a mediocre opponent. But it just shows you that fanboy mentality. When you're too close to fighters, you shouldn't fucking talk about fighters in those divisions anymore, because you're obviously fucking biased as fuck. Biased as fuck. Inui's too small for Tank, so Tank will probably clout chase Inui just to get his fans hyped up, laugh out loud. The purse bid hearing was set for October 16th to decide the promoter's financial details. I'm pretty sure it was moved to the 22nd or something, or 27th. Let's ask AI. Hi, I'm curious about the 135-pound IBF purse bid between Raymond Muratalla and Cruz for the IBF world title. What was the date for that purse bid to happen, and is there a result? The IBF has allowed Muratalla to have a voluntary defense before he must face the mandatory challenger. Mandatory deadline: Muratalla must fight Cruz by no later than February 10th, 2026. Here we go. What does they say here? It might not be as updated as you. IBF has ordered Muratalla to defend his title against Cruz and set to negotiate contract window. So no, they didn't tell me anything different or anything new. Thanks, Google. That was AI. They're better than Google, and they do all the fucking legwork. I don't need to do it anymore, for the most part, even though most information is always a little off, a little dated. But there you go. AI, there you go. Well, thanks everyone for jumping in. Obviously, this weekend we do have a big fight card. Joseph Parker versus Wardley. It's an exciting matchup. Obviously, the winner of this hopefully becomes the mandatory for Usyk and Usyk's next fight. If you haven't seen my video, go check it out. It's a part of the WBC tournament video. I broke that video into two halves, one talking about the finals and one talking about what we can expect from Usyk, because apparently Usyk has said he wants 5 more fights before he retires. So I listed the 5 fighters I hope, or I assume, he probably will fight. So go check that out. Thanks everyone for jumping in. I will see you next time. Peace out. Have a good night. I'm happy because tomorrow is Friday. Tomorrow's Thursday. But Friday we have a holiday in Taiwan. So another 3-day holiday. Woo! October's been so good. We've had 3 3-day holidays in this month. God bless. God bless Taiwan and everyone. Peace out, everyone. I'll see you next time. Enjoy your week. And NBA, it started.